are live. Welcome back to the most recent installment of your favorite soccer hooligan podcast, the Mecca of Banter. The boys are back.
Let's go.
The boys are ready to chop it up yet again. It's one of our favorite days every week. We get to BS about the sport that we love, and there's nothing better, in my personal opinion. So we'll start and check in with the fellas. Winksy, what's going on with you?
Dude, this whole deal with stutter there. This whole deal with international break 3 weeks into the Premier League season is such a tease. First of all, it's good to see you guys. Happy to be back.
Thanks, man. It's good to see you
already.
But that's how pissed off I am that it happened so early into the season. I feel like 3 weeks in, we're just getting like settled in, starting to see how our teams are playing full strength. You know, not preseason rotating starting 11s, and then we just get 2 weeks without it. So a little frustrated at that. And then to top it off, a couple games that we were all in support of the same team of this weekend didn't go well, and I know we'll touch on that. But nonetheless, happy to chat it up with y'all. Good to see you guys.
Happy to have you. I still haven't figured out what the Nations League is. So whenever I find that out, maybe we can start to,
talk about it
more. I just could care less, frankly. But Havy, what's going on, brother?
We're hanging in there. Completely non-related sports talk. My house reeks of skunk, so that's fantastic. Dog got sprayed by a skunk over the weekend and ran into the house afterwards, so we got a skunk-filled house. So if that ever happens to you, make sure they stay outside.
Yikes.
Also, with that, Sunday, we're coming off a Mecca of Banter first Sunday league dub. We were able to beat the Net 6 in Chill, 2-1. And if you didn't see our tweet, Nate Griffin stood on his absolute head, and he is the best goalie in St. Louis because we should have lost 6-2 because the man was an absolute animal. But as always, happy to be here to talk some footy with you guys. You can find me on Twitter at Hayfy4. Been a little active lately. I've been chatting some shit with some of the rival clubs.
I love that for you. And as Dobes said while we were at the field, that was a classic smash and grab 3 points from the mob for sure. Havy with a good 12 out of 13 lockdowns too. This man was on it. So couple of stellar players out there. But Henry, what's going on, bro?
What's up, everyone? It's your boy Hen. I always hate international break, but man, does Manchester United need it. So I will take it. I will take it where we can, and I'm stoked to be here tonight. Happy to see you fellas.
It's so funny hearing the two sides of the input, like on how we feel about the international break.
Totally.
I hated it, but you definitely needed it. Me and Winks
needed it so badly.
Not the same, yeah. And then, believe it or not, a second time returning guest. I think the only time we've ever had a guest return, so that's cool. We're not the worst. Chat City Tactics with Michael Sinnott. How are we doing, man?
Good. How are you? I don't know if that's a redeeming thing to be the only guy to ever come back. Is that a good?
No. That's a high honor. That's high praise.
Okay.
That's high. Trust us. Trust us.
Sure. I did get the invite the second time, so maybe that is good for me.
Yeah. Happy to have you, dude. Good to see you again.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Good to be here.
Appreciate your expertise.
Or lack thereof. We'll find out through the course of this.
And when it's international break and it's only City that we talk about, it's nice to have you on.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, literally.
Fair.
Yo, but before we dive into St. Louis City, Michael, can you plug the Discord? Like, can you talk about what the Discord is and like your Discord channel? Because like I recently joined like a week and a half ago, and there's so much shit in there. Like that, I feel like if you're only a Twitter follower of yours, you don't get to see the full extent. Your Discord is incredible.
Yeah, so it's we've got a lot of different channels in there, and I believe it's linked in my link tree on my Twitter. I tweet it every once in a while, but just a lot of guys that like soccer, and I post some of my ramblings in there, and then we just have a lot of good conversations. People ask me for various visualizations, and I try to come up with that for people. We try to watch the replays together live, and then we can have kind of a Q&A as that happens. Just depends on the schedule for everyone. And then we even had our first meetup last week at City, or I guess 2 weeks ago now at City Park, just through the Discord, through Twitter. So if you want to just come talk soccer in a more casual way than social media, it is social media, but it's a little bit different. then the Discord might be for you.
I will say that has been my doom scroll of choice, like once a week for the last 2 weeks of just like, because I'll miss stuff during the day because I'm not in it all the time. And then just at night, I'll go in and just read all of the updates from all the different channels in there. It's incredible. It's so good.
No, it's a fun time. So come on in.
Sure gonna.
It sounds less hostile than your replies and ours, frankly, which are sometimes
quite frankly
pretty hostile.
The people that don't like me would probably not join the Discord. I think that's fair to say. Yeah. If you really don't like Klaus, you're probably not in my Discord. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And if you don't, and if you love Thor, you probably hate us. So
probably.
We've lost followers over our takes on Thor. So
I can't imagine why.
I don't know why. I don't know why. It's crazy, bro.
So that does bring us in, sliding on over to the result this weekend for St. Louis away at New England. It was the Taylor Twellman Derby, the Tim Parker Kessler swap Derby. I don't even know what you'd phrase that as, but it was very interesting to see Timmy on the other side and also watch Kessler celebrate the shit out of a goal. So that was all really fun, but we did finish 2-2. Tough conditions. Nobody likes playing on turf. Rain, wind. It was a hard fought match for sure. But definitely some takeaways. Still no away wins. Not one this season. Probably one of, if not the biggest downfall we've had this year. And then so a lot of small aspects to talk about. Some things that we noticed individually as a group. The Twitter world always has thoughts. So, what did you guys think? First thoughts on this?
Before we dive immediately into it, I do want to give me and Hen credit. We said it would be really cool if Kessler dunked on Tim for a goal, and that's exactly what happened. So, thought that was pretty cool that Kessler was able to score a header over Tim on a corner. So.
Cash that.
I had a buddy take him plus 800 anytime goal scorer, and he went crazy. So totally related.
It was a ridiculous header. Like a ridiculous header.
Finish. Like he had no right to put that back stick.
He just wanted it. Just wanted it.
The play itself, I think I will start with that. One of the things that I noticed that I love, so we feel dangerous again on corners and set pieces. Like for a long spell there. And especially considering last season and how dangerous we were. I mean, Tim Parker had like 5 goals. So like that was a big part of our game when we could execute those and smash and grab, like we mentioned, those away wins on 2 corners or something. So scoring a goal from a corner is great. The other ones felt dangerous too. There were a lot of close chances, ball inch away from landing at someone's foot for a tap in. So I did like that, but again, we gave up 2 goals in pretty lame fashion, and what's the explanation for it? Like,
Nerwinski had a shocker.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. So it's tough where we kind of last year and this year we've talked about Jake's level, like the expectation of who Jake Nerwinski is in this back line. We came on this podcast a week ago and held our hands up and said, hey, he had a great performance, at City Park, and it certainly surprised us. We did not see that coming, and so he gets the start again for this game. And you can't really blame Hackworth there. I prefer Totland every day of the week, and actually twice on Saturdays, but whatever. So Jake Nerwinski got caught out in typical Jake Nerwinski fashion from last year, but there's no doubt that the first goal, Kessler slips. And if Kessler doesn't slip, it's a completely different outcome of that.
Can we also talk about Hebert not stepping on that and like allowing him to just have a one-on-one with?
I think
so that's tough. That's tough.
Far out. I agree with you, Hen, but he was pretty far out. Like he got like 3 to 4 dribbles in on Berkey, where like I think he could have tried to close space a little.
But
bit.
he was also blocking off 2 passing.
Yes, we had a trail defender coming in late. But I also agree with you. It's
I'm backing Berkey one-on-one.
He looked like in no man's land there, and I was like, "Eesh, I don't know if I'm not stepping there or not."
No, and I think that is accurate. And obviously, you were also a center back, and so that might be the position where you would close down the shot. me as a center back, I would take away the pass.
Yeah.
That is what I would do. And I would back my goalkeeper to do his thing. And like, really, that's something that you just work out with your goalkeeper. Whoever is playing behind you, you just have to know what they would prefer. And then you saw in the second goal where we did go to close down that, that attacker, and they did cut it back to the top of the box, and it same thing. So it's kind of a situation in that where maybe if you go back and you got the same play 10 times, you might do 5 this way, 5 that way. And it was a toss up in the moment. But I don't think that's a bad take, Nick, of wanting Hiebert to go out and challenge that. But I agree with you, Hoove, that like I would also back Berkey in that one-on-one.
The telling signal to me is Berkey would absolutely let anybody have it if they didn't do what he felt that they should have done. That goal went in, and he was like, man,
yeah, he would have been screaming at Hiebert.
Like he could have just absolutely laid into Hiebert, but he didn't. So I mean, we got on those.
I mean, I think you guys discussed being a cat versus a dog, which was kind of fun. Who's going for the ball, who's standing back, which is what we would talk about a lot.
Right.
I don't know. It's one of those. It's annoying because it's really the only chance they had that was any good.
Yeah.
And it just happened because turf sucks, and that's my political stance for the day. Is turf sucks. Get rid of it.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
I know. I'll run on that campaign slogan. Yeah. Turf sucks.
We're all
and then you add rain on top of it.
Yeah, it's impossible conditions, but like totally, like you said, Michael, like it was really like their only attacking threat that they really had, and something that we saw in this game that we have not seen in other games. We actually made New England sit in and absorb a ton of pressure, where most of the time, like we're the ones who's sitting back 20 minutes left of the game. We're trying not to lose. Whereas this time, I mean, we looked so dangerous. And if it wasn't for their goalie playing probably the best game of his season, we'd probably be looking at a different thing. I mean, Leuven had that 35 yard bomb. Hartle had a couple of great shots. Like Betcher had some great shots.
So
like,
good.
Yeah,
I love that dude.
They made some great saves.
I love watching them play.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I don't know. I think that we did look dangerous, and Michael, you put a couple of like interesting tweets out in your watch back, and then you also made a note of it in your article today, but talking about how Durkin does some things really well, but is he the right partner for Leuven in there? Touch on that for a little bit. What your thoughts are there?
Yeah, so a lot of people actually kind of like that, and I was surprised because people seem to like Durkin, and I like Durkin.
Totally.
But it's just, I think I called him on this podcast the first time. I called him a psychopath, and that's still what he is. Like he sees a ball, and he's got to go to the ball. I got to go get the ball. And then you've got Leuven, who's so willing to run forward that sometimes you just can't have Durkin go to the ball. You just have to have there's a massive space from where there is no midfield because you've got Durkin running this way and you've got Leuven running forward with the ball. And then it's like, okay, well, if we turn the ball over here, what's the game plan? Well, it's the other team gets the ball. They're running straight at Kessler and Hiebert. And that's just not a recipe for success. So I think that for me, that's like what the City need to really address in the offseason is obviously you have to find a manager that has a little bit of a different style of play. To get there's definitely a systemic issue in like one pass and it's a 5v4. Like that's unhealthy. That's a bad press. But at the same time, you get to have, I think the front office needs to bring in someone that can play alongside Leuven, play alongside Durkin, depending on the personnel, that can actually just kind of sit and do what Blom, I think people thought he could do. He never really could do it, but people thought he could do it. And I think that's kind of what we need in 2025.
I think the Blom that you're talking about and the Blom that we all thought we were going to get would be perfect for this side.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, what we were sold on him and what some of us saw in practice, like, he did it for a short period of time. I thought he was excellent. We were talking about losing him to Europe, like in 5 games.
Yeah, like the first four games of the season last year, we were like, oh shit.
The talent is insane. It's consistency and drive, maybe? Like something didn't add up there. But if I'm not wrong, you were in agreement and actively tweeting back and forth with Taylor Twellman himself, like about that situation.
Yeah.
Does he follow you, by the way?
He responds to a lot of my things. I would say he's my second favorite Taylor behind my wife. So depending on how that goes, sometimes they can switch. But yeah,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
But that's what
It's
you
funny.
pointed out was just the space, and he was like,
Yeah.
where
Durkin and
where was
Leuven.
Durkin and
Yeah.
Leuven, and why are they on the left side of the field? Like,
Yeah,
You're-
they're both like 6 yards from the touchline there, and it was like Jake steps 2 feet to the right, and there's one pass, and that's a 5v4. It's like, how the heck is that possible?
Yeah. It is tough. It is tough though. Like playing that sixth position. Of all of us here, Nick was the only one that did that, and you have to just be incredibly patient because everything in your being is kind of like that Durkin of like, I just want to go to the ball. I want to be active. I want to be involved in the play. I want to, if I'm not going to be on the ball, I want to be supporting the ball. But like, you do have to just like sit in the middle of the park and be really comfortable with like clogging up a passing lane. And that is successful. So it's a tough position.
It's the toughest position.
Yeah.
So every football player wants to score goals, and having the patience and wherewithal to not go up and impact an attack and to hold your position on the defensive side is definitely a hard thing to do. And I completely agree with you. It's something we're missing. And I also think it's exactly what Blom we wanted him to do, and he was not able to do for us.
His limitations were too much.
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter how good he was at sitting. He just had so many other weaknesses.
you can't find a 60-yard pass to your back line
Yeah.
with it not hitting another player on the other team.
Yeah.
And I always said he had a really great second touch, and that's because his first touch was so bad. He figured out how to, the second touch he could kind of dig it by
He could
people.
throw his body and just
Yeah.
Oh, got it this time. Got it this time.
So, and before we go too far in, I think we need to talk about Marcel Hartle being exceptional. And it's never anything flashy. I have him on the sheet.
But he's
here.
got that swag in him that I just
He does.
fucking love.
Sauce. He's got sauce, and it's never flashy. It's never overdone. It's just like very, very subtle movements and things that he does are like, whoa.
It's experience.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
He
That's a good
finds
word
himself
for
in
it.
amazing positions.
I want to point out, I know you guys know my thoughts on Timmy P, but Hartle's assist was literally him beating Tim on the wing and then playing an incredible ball back to the top of the box assignment. I just think Hartle is so good, not only at the top of the box for us and creating like chances for us moving forward, but also on the wings playing balls in. I think his diversity on the wing for us is huge.
And one thing that we pointed out when he first started playing with Leuven in that weird interior cut in left wing position was like, how are they going to work this out? Like that was the number one thing that we needed to see start to click, because we could see that he's a player, absolutely. But like, where was it gonna, start to progress forward? This was the one. Like,
I also think that is why Lewin and Durkin are caught on the left side a lot, is because Hartle does kind of like free roam in, and he cuts in a lot and finds himself at the top of the box. I'm not saying it's an excuse for them to get caught over there all the time. But I do feel like sometimes Hartle is taking a lot of the space in the middle, and someone's needing to fill that space on that wing.
Yeah, it could be a number of different things, but what I am liking is that they're combining incredibly well in the offensive third, creating just a lot of dangerous moments. And I even think like, Twitter was split 50-50 on whether or not Hartle actually fouled that defender before, taking the ball and scoring. But the finish was just ridiculous. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to like chip it top of the net, from inside the 6-yard box. Like, I didn't expect that finish at all. And that was just literally a moment of greatness where, like, prior to the League's Cup break, we didn't have people on our team that, one, could get themselves into that position to even make that defensive play, and then two, certainly didn't have the people on the team that could have made that finish. So yeah, he's such an interesting player to watch, and he's someone that can definitely go under the radar, but man, is he dangerous kind of at any given time. And I like that. I like that he's a little bit unassuming. I like that he's not just like overly reliant on pace. I like that he's not like, I don't know, the biggest ego and the biggest character and the biggest name in the world. I think he's just a really, really solid pickup for this team.
I mean, Lowen too, though. It's like they're doing it together now, and you can see that the chemistry is built in 4 games, however many they've played. Like some of those flicks to each other, in and out, tiki-taka, just shifting through defenders to just get into space. Like we haven't had that. We haven't had that at all.
The chance that Thor like laid it backwards instead of shooting, that came out of like 5 or 6 really intricate passes at the top of the box, because all of those guys realized that there was no space to go forward. So they're like, fuck it, we'll just like play keep away at the top of the box. And even that little progression, even though it didn't turn into like a goal or like a clear goal scoring opportunity based on who it fell to, like that was even so different than what we've seen throughout this season. So like even in a 2-2 tie in a game that we really needed to win, I still think that there's so much positive going forward, truly, like when we go forward. But yeah, Michael, like you said, like we have to address the hole in the middle of the park and the defensive fragility that comes from one pass. You can't continue to get beat like that.
It's what will keep us from being good in 2025. Because I mean, on paper, you look at the starting 11, and like Marcel is going to be one of the best players in the MLS. There's no question about that. Leuven is one of the best 8s in the MLS. Kessler is one of the best ball progressive center backs in the MLS. Berkey's the best goalkeeper in the MLS. Like, there's a lot of talent in that starting lineup on paper, but yeah, you just got to fix that hole, or it isn't going to matter. But going back to your point about them linking up on the outside of the box, that's what has me really excited about Klaus. Because like,
talk about that a little bit, because people
like
are like
Betcher. I like Betcher a lot. I mean, he's done more than he was supposed to. Like, it was like, hey, you're gonna come over the summer, having not played recently, and you're gonna play every minute because we have no one else. And you have to run your butt off, and you have to learn how to press, and you have to score, and you have to do everything. And he's like, sure, sign me up. And
I will say that like fits his like play style perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, what you just described of like a
he's been great
striker that can finish.
Yeah.
That's literally Simon Betcher to a T.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's gonna be fantastic at like the 63rd minute when he comes onto the pitch. Like, it's gonna be awesome. But when you've got like when you have Leuven and you have Marcel linking up, and then you add Klaus, who's back to goal, ready to have a third, and then you have a triangle of passing angles there, and then you just got Teutsch just kind of sitting on the outside of the box, ready for just a quick layoff and a finish. That's so dangerous to me. And I'm just so excited to see that.
That's going to be so fun. And Simon's honestly scored like 2 more goals than I thought he was going to score for this club. So like, in my mind, we've already got that value. Like that.
Yeah, we're in bonus land.
So
we're in free money territory.
Bonus land. Never fall in love with a lone player, but this guy's awesome. Like, he's so fun, and he's such a shithouse, dude. Like, he is such. I mean, a mentality monster, and I love that. Like, Kessler's celebrating this goal to the corner, and he is literally like grabbing the back of his jersey to show Kessler's last name on the jersey, like pointing at it. Like, yeah, this is who you lost. Like, he's so good at that. I love it. We need those guys. Like,
yeah, he's awesome.
I think Giacchini would throw himself down too easily. I think Betcher does it perfectly. Like Nico looked like a flopper, and every once in a while would win those, ticky-tacky kind of fouls. But Betcher wins them, and then he'll milk it. Like, he knows the role, he knows the timing. He's so game smart. Those are intangibles that you can't recreate. Quick question: do we think it was a handball on Hebert?
On Hebert?
Which one?
So I didn't see the Parker one.
Parker one. Parker one was a handball.
Parker was not. I think Hebert was.
I think Hebert's not, but it should be. Based on the rules.
Yes.
I also think Hartles wasn't a foul though. So
I don't think Hartles was a foul either.
I think Hartles was a foul.
Wait. Explain this handball thing, Michael. Like, what do you mean it's not, but it should be?
So I think that, like, based on the rules, that is a handball. Like,
yeah, I was kind of surprised that it wasn't. I was like, there's no way it's not.
Should call it, based on everything we've seen over the past 2 years of MLS play and what you see basically all across the globe, that's a handball based on the rules. Now, a guy going to play defense and his hand is up is a natural position to me, and I think every person with a brain, but it's not to the people that make the rules. So for me, it's not a handball, but according to the rules, it should be a handball. At least that's how I see it.
No, I 100% agree with that.
100%. And it's like
Yeah.
a precedent thing. Like, that's what we always ask on this stupid podcast, is that we need consistency. Do it again. Make the call. Make that be the call all year. We beg for it. My consistent thought was, I've seen enough of this MLS business to know that that's a handball. It's like, that's coming back.
Yeah.
Like, and it was also immediately after Hartle finished. So not only did they go and check the push, they called the push, they called it dead, then had to go to the monitor to review the handball.
Mhm.
And you're right. It was like, I don't think it should be a penalty. Like, he's going for the ball. His head's not even looking at the ball. It comes down. What's he supposed to do with his arm? Again, he's jumping. That's
Yeah,
you have
you can't
to
saw
jump.
your hand
It's
off.
a
Yeah.
physical sport. It didn't change any sort of outcome in my mind. So
We've also seen that called though.
100%.
Many
Yeah,
times.
yeah. I was so surprised it didn't get called. I was like, damn, that looks pretty nailed on.
Andrew,
Especially after they called the ref over.
yeah,
Yes.
How many
Oh,
times?
The moment he went over, I was like, oh, it's a pen.
Yeah, because isn't that the whole point?
yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Like
However-
we say it's to like, oh, it's to give the ref a second look, but it's basically, hey, you screwed it up.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
see it and then fix it.
Hey, check this.
Basically,
again.
and that's how it's used in practice,
And I mean-
regardless of
Yeah.
how people want to spin it.
The nuts on that ref to come back and be like, no, you guys are wrong.
Classic
Like,
MLS.
I disagree. Like, that's impressive. So
Did you see the post game reaction from their coach?
Yeah.
Porter, yeah.
Just losing his mind about how, I mean, not getting a penalty the entire season is insane. That is a crazy statistic
That's a
at this
crazy
stage of the season. But he was just like, yeah, I'll take the fine. I'll get that out of the way. And then he just proceeded to like shit on the refs and like the MLS and the process. And I was like, I mean, hey, if you're going to take a fine, might as well make it worth it.
Yeah, and
you know?
honestly, I agree with like half of it. Like
Yeah,
most
sure.
of the time we're the ones getting hosed on these calls. So I don't blame the guy at all for his stance on things, because he's right. We need more of that so that they actually do go in and make some changes. Like,
Right.
it's just not well done from an officiating standpoint. But we get to announce the calls like an NFL game, and that everyone loves that.
That
Good old
also blows
Americans. Dude,
I will say, like, you know, that however meme pops up, you know, once a
However.
week or whatever it is. It really is the funniest thing in the entire world.
Okay.
Like, in the moment, I don't know if I've ever been more mad at a soccer game than I was in that specific moment. But now looking back and seeing like the caption pop up of the however and his finger just being up, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen on live television. It's the best.
I can't believe
it's awesome.
he did that in a sport, in like a competitive, like, he
Yeah.
knew he was selling it. It went around European Twitter because they're like, look
Yeah,
at this
dude.
guy. And this,
However,
and this picture of him looking drunk as hell pointing at the spot, I use that
It's like-
as a constant meme reaction now. Just like drunk.
He's like the MLS Wes Macaulay now, like 5 minutes
Oh.
for fighting. That's like his
Yeah.
however thing now.
I love that. I love
So, final point before we move on to St. Louis, and I guess we could just call it a factor cap. Yes or no? Is it factor? Is it cap? St. Louis City SC makes the playoffs this year.
I'm gonna say yes. I think we go on a fucking tear. I think, dude, Michael, I don't care. Don't care. You're chat city tactics. I'm chat shitty tactics over here. I'm I'm just chatting shit. No, I think we'll do. I do think that of the remaining games, there's half of them that I think are, you know, as long as we play. I mean, even if we play like we did Saturday night, like I think that we'll beat those teams. The other half we're going to have to grind out, but I do think that we're clicking at a pretty good time, and we're not going to slip every single game. We haven't really given up too much of anything the last two games. I think we do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cap too. Similarly to what I know we're going to talk about with the national team, except on the other side of the coin, I'm super confused why our manager, if we were the ones that were on the offense, especially in the second half, late in the second half, applying the pressure, why we took out an attacker for a left back in a must-win game for us, which is pretty much from here on out if we want to make the playoffs. I don't know if that sort of mentality is going to carry over into every match. I still don't know why they subbed him off for a left back, but to me, that doesn't scream a team that like wants to take all 3 points and make it to the playoffs. So as much as I would love them to,
I think our defense is not strong enough to make a push for the playoffs.
I got the belief, baby.
I love the belief, Hen, and you can hold on to that, but that ain't getting us shit.
I think I wrote off our playoff chances, like 2 months ago at this point. So
You did.
Similar.
You did. You said, see ya. I'm
I
out.
do want to make one statement before we move on, Hoove. And it's a statement I never thought I would ever say, ever. But I just want to make it, and we can move on, and I just want to have it as some time I've said it in this lifetime.
Did someone pay you to say this before you say it?
No.
Or is this part of
this is not. This is not.
the paid
It's funny because now you're going to think it was by what I'm about to say. But
Nick literally before this podcast started said, if you pay me any amount of money, I'll say anything.
It's not true. He did not text me. But I thought Thor played well when he came on.
Oh, Nick. Who's in your pocket, brother? Who's in your pocket?
Now, I'm
Me.
just going to say we don't
Me.
have to talk that much about it. But of the performances I've seen out of him, this one I thought was better than all the other ones. That's all I'll say.
There you go. Hand up. We're the first folks to be accountable for backing up on statements that we make often.
it's actually
is he
it's actually
still
funny.
Yes.
That's funny because I actually thought this was one of his worst performances.
Michael!
That's fine.
It's funny. It's just like I've liked a lot of his performances. I did not think this was a good one.
I
So
thought
that's
his
interesting.
effort was finally there and his ego wasn't. So
I think his effort is like the one thing that you can never question ever about him.
Totally.
Is that he runs like a horse, always, forever.
The decision making.
sometimes
I responded to I think whoever is he made it very clear that he does not listen to this podcast. I think 2 or 3
Akil
weeks
Watts
ago.
for
But
president.
yeah, Akil Watts
He
for
knows
president
ball
on
for
Twitter.
sure.
He definitely he made it very clear that he does not listen to this podcast. However, he said something about Thor again, and I hadn't checked Twitter in 24 hours, and it was the first thing that I saw, and I was like, for the love of God. And I think I just responded with one of those like memes of just the guy staring down the camera. And so he had some things to say back to me, but what I told him is that like I think we see Thor's dysfunction so much because he really does get himself in good positions. Like he really finds himself making these great runs and getting into space. It's just like every decision he makes, you would almost choose the opposite decision. When he shoots, you wished he passed, and when he passes, you wished he shot, and then like when he tries to dribble, you wish that he just wouldn't. And like it's just everything feels completely opposite with that kid. I want to root for every player that we have.
Yeah.
It's just impossible for me. It's so hard.
So, and last thing, I know I said we were about to move on, but we play Minnesota at home, San Jose away, Sporting KC at home, LAFC away, Houston at home, Minnesota again away. In my mind, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We're doing a points prediction here.
5.
How many games is that? Is that 7?
It's
6 games left.
6 games.
Out of
6
18
games.
points, how many are we getting?
18.
We
can't. My thought of making the playoff can't come true unless we do 18.
I think-
So I'm saying 18.
Yeah, you're right. You're definitely right. You're wrong, but you're right.
Chat shitty tactics.
I think Nick's got 6. I think I've got 12.
6 and 6.
6 points out of 6? That's insane, brother. We played San Jose, the worst team in the league, and then Minnesota, who's 9th twice.
Yeah.
There were some games
times.
we win here.
I think we beat Sporting Kansas City as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I haven't watched any of LAFC this season, but they're always like dangerous at any point. So I have
Especially
no
away.
idea how that's going to go.
We're also away.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
good luck.
fuck. But
I
We're
got
letting up
8
2
points.
goals
2,
every
2, and
game.
2. 2,
Okay.
and 2.
do you know who you think that will beat and who you think will tie to?
San
and who you think-
Jose. We better beat San Jose.
Okay.
And then I think we win the last game of the season at Minnesota.
Hmm.
I'll be there, so hopefully we win.
Okay.
I
Flex.
realized like Minnesota's not that far away. Like
Right.
St. Paul,
No,
it's
it's
only
not.
like 8 hours from St. Louis, which I would have guessed like 11. So we're gonna
Yeah.
drive up.
I've got
Nice
St.
fall
Louis.
weather in Minnesota.
It's a good spot.
It'll be cold.
So before, and I've said this third.
Good transition.
Once more, what we've got, Michael, and this is a genuine question because I don't think anyone on this podcast would have any idea. What manager do we go for this summer or this winter?
I have no idea either.
Like-
Absolutely no idea.
Like, what do we need? A certain profile? Do we need a certain level of experience in the league, out of the league, European?
No.
Like,
Definitely don't need MLS experience. I think that's so overrated.
Yeah.
Sure, Wilfred Nancy is doing a lot with his 1 year of like assistant coaching experience in the MLS before going and becoming the best head coach on the continent. I don't know. It's so weird because you get like assistant coaches from Man United come and be head coaches. Like, is that the pathway? I have no idea. So I steer clear, and then when I see names, we'll do some research from there. But as far as giving you a short list, I have no idea.
I mean, that was what
Anyone
Carnell
but
was.
Greg. Anyone but Greg.
God.
Anyone,
And
Greg
you can't
Berhalter.
even seriously look at Greg. There's no.
No.
If we
No.
do, I'll
No,
No,
that's not going to happen. He
there's-
doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't adhere to the Lutz Pfannenstiel like style, so it just doesn't even have to be a discussion, really.
Which
Yeah.
to be fair, immediately narrows our prospect board. Like, you have
Which is
to-
good. You need to
It's
have
good.
like you
Yeah.
can't have opposed forces at the top. You got to have like everyone's got to be committed to the same thing.
It's a top-down
So-
project, and also if it's not Lutz's way, it's the highway. So good luck ever
Yeah.
trying to surpass that. So
Let's get Edin Terzic. Let's get him, former Dortmund manager. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. Well, I have fact on us making the playoffs just because I wanted to. I just want it. I just want it so bad. Frankly, like, it's not gonna happen. I'm emotionally hedging it. There's no way we do it, but maybe. Why not? Why not us? Huh? Who knows?
Why not?
So speaking of another team who is going through a coaching change on the national stage, United States men's national team played Canada, Jesse Marsh's Canada, in a friendly this weekend, and it sucked. Quite frankly, it was the worst thing ever. 2-1, Canada gets the win. Jesse Marsh laughs in our faces. The boys looked absolutely terrible. And then the interim manager blamed the players after the match. So, Nikki, I know you tapped in. Break some down this for us.
Yeah, this one really stressed me out a lot. I think we've talked about it. We're getting close to the World Cup coming, so I want us to start playing somewhat of decent footy in the near future. And when I saw the starting lineup for this game, I was happy because I thought it was a starting lineup to where we had enough talent out there to where we could actually put up a good fight against Canada and maybe even put in a dominating performance. But boy, was I wrong, and it was quite flipped. Canada had 17 shots compared to our 8, and Schultz absolutely stood, or Schulte, I don't even know, is it Schulte?
Schulte.
Schulte absolutely stood on his head. I know Dobe said it in our text message that he picks Schulte over Turner right now, and I completely agree with him. I think he absolutely stood on his head, and it could have easily been 5 goals against us because Canada definitely had some chances. The one person I really want to talk about is Balogun. He has done absolutely nothing to impress me, like, whatsoever in the last couple of matches. When he's on the ball, he's not really creating much for us moving forward. And when he's in front of goal, he's putting it out for corners or goal kicks. I was not impressed, and I expect a lot more from him, especially if he's going to be our 9 moving forward, and I just want to see better results. Also, another person, Tim Ream, had a shocker. I know where Tim Ream stands on this podcast, but he had a lot of turnovers trying to find our midfielders. Canada did a really good job of pressing us when we had the ball in our defensive backs, and Tim had a couple of turnovers that led to goals. So yeah, I was not very happy with the performance, and you said it. I think Jesse Marsh took it to us. Canada had us figured out from the get-go, and we did not look good whatsoever, and I'm not thrilled going into the future with possibly a new coach in the state that we're at right now. I also think Christian could have been better, but you can't just always bank on him having an incredible game.
I saw Johnny have a terrible game too. And we're talking about a tens of millions of dollar move from Bettis soon.
Yeah.
He's also going up against Alphonso Davies, but
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, look, there was an argument a long time ago from Alexi Lalas, and I know for a fact at the time that he made this comment, we all were like, dumbass, hate that guy, he's the worst. But he said something along the lines of the 2006 to 2010 stretch that we had, would that team beat the current team? And World Cup time last year, I would have been like, I said probably on this podcast, I was like, talent-wise, absolutely not. But those guys are mentality monsters. Those guys are absolute dogs out of a cage, bro. And all of them were. Clint Dempsey, all of those old heads, John Brooks was young back then, and all these things that these guys were doing, they were just animals. They wanted it more. There was passion. There was aggression. They had all of the mental side that you would think an American side should have. Savages. We should be savages to these Europeans and to whomever we play. And these cats don't have it. They don't have any of that same mentality. And it shows clearly. And, is that a managerial change? Is that Pochettino coming in? Is that Christian giving up the captain's band? I don't know what that is, but I think it's get Clint Dempsey in the locker room. Get some of those old heads down there and maybe in a training pitch with them and let them just rip them. You need those types of influences sometimes. And Clint says it every week in the broadcast. He's like, look, I just don't think these guys have it. It's so evident, I think. And now for the interim head coach to come out after the game and say this one's on the players, which I don't think you should ever really do in a post-match presser. But I didn't necessarily disagree with him. You can only do so much as a guy who's going to be in charge of one game. And if they didn't want it, they didn't want it. So it's just so frustrating to see all of that, of just, the snow classico, of just Clint Dempsey wanting the ball more in 2 inches of snow in Colorado against, Costa Rica. It's just a different set of squads. Dobes texted us entitled little pansies. Those guys don't have it.
No, I think you hit it right on the head perfectly, and it showed in the game. One of the things I had written down that I didn't even bring up was our goal was even no one sullied after we scored. It was kind of offsides. I think it was really offsides. They didn't call it, and I don't think they had VAR for this game.
Shout out CONCACAF.
Yeah, and no one from our team sullied, and I'm like, what's going on? Do we just not care at all whatsoever? It's frustrating, especially because I agree with you that the older guys' team had a lot of passion, but they also had nowhere near the talent some of these guys have.
Yep.
And I wish they would realize that and get it together and have a little bit of effort, because if they had half of the effort that some of those guys you were just naming, I think we would be a better team, but it's just not there for them.
It's just tough with, prior to Berhalter getting fired for the second time, we talked about how from the top down, the U.S. Soccer Foundation, it's just so bad for a lot of reasons. And I think now, unfortunately, we're seeing a completely different fruit of that tree growing, or of those roots growing inside of U.S. soccer, where, it was easy and deserved for Berhalter to get the hate that he got for the tactics that he had. But now, after Berhalter got fired, you had Tyler Adams coming out in interviews and Christian coming out in interviews saying hey, we need someone who's going to come in there and, kick our ass a little bit. We need someone to come in and hold us accountable, I think is the phrase that they said. They hold everyone accountable. So yeah, the mentality that's been bred inside of U.S. soccer over the last couple of years is that of you don't have to be a dog. You don't have to have that mentality. You don't have to have that do whatever it takes to win mentality. And it's not all on Greg, but Greg's been at the helm for the last 5 years, 6 years, or whatever it's been, and that's the culture he created with this current crop of players. And so unless you have maybe a U.S. player who's on the fringes right now who comes into that dressing room the next international break and he kind of starts imprinting himself on the squad, or you come in with a different manager who has that kind of like authoritarian mentality. I don't know if we're going to see it out of this group of players, and I think that it's just going to be a huge disappointment as we get after the World Cup in 2026, when we have to start talking about who from this roster is going to get replaced. You know, like Christian's not going to stay in his mid-20s forever. Tyler may not see the field again for another 4 years. You just don't know what's going to happen with him. Like, it's gonna come sooner than we think that some of these guys are going to get replaced and they're not going to see the field again for the U.S. men's national team.
And Tyler's one of the only guys that I see having that, like
Yeah.
that Michael Bradley, Tim Howard, Jermaine Jones, that mentality, just the like
Michael Bradley,
brother. He played for the badge. You can say what you want, and he played 3 years too long.
Daddy put him there.
He was one of our best center midfield options. Do you remember when he chipped the keeper from 50 yards against Mexico in Azteca? That doesn't.
I've said it.
We don't have
I've
that.
said it about other players before. I'm taking Connor Sindobri over Michael Bradley.
Played at Roma. I don't know.
Yeah, he was great at Roma too.
Dude, Jeff Cameron? Are you kidding me? That guy was a savage. Like, Jermaine Jones.
Marcus Beasley. Yeah.
I love Jermaine Jones. I never said anything about Jermaine Jones. Love it.
So,
Last time I was on this podcast, I said that I didn't want Tyler Adams to play in the
You did.
Cup of America.
would you look at
Just so we're aware.
and would you look at
And
that?
look what happened.
I said he wasn't ready to play. Well,
And now he
Guess
still
what?
hasn't played.
You
You want
should
to
have.
coach the
his
U.S.
body was not ready to play.
No.
Who'd have
You
thunk?
should have been on the
Yeah.
touchline for that because
Dude, it's
that was the
it's
easiest
like
decision ever. You could make that call from 50,000 feet up. Like,
sometimes coaches just cannot see the forest from the trees, dude. It's crazy.
Too close to it.
I know we haven't talked about it yet, but I think the Poach signing isn't that going to happen or
You tell us,
possibly
Mr.
happen?
Chelsea. What's happening with your payment structure?
I don't fucking know. Todd Bowley sent a shit ton of money in, and now he's trying to dip. That's our payment structure. I don't know. I thought Poach was for sure going to be our coach, and I think if he does, I think that's a huge win for us moving forward. And all of the shit we were kind of just talking about top down at the U.S. men's national team, I pull back a little bit because I think Poach is a good signing in the right direction and someone we haven't had.
But how long is it going to take, though? Like,
I agree.
they made that announcement a month ago. Fabrizio made that announcement a month ago, and literally it hasn't. Nothing's happened.
lucky for you, it's trending. Poach is trending on Twitter.
Great. For what reason, though?
Apparently, he's announced his coaching staff, which is his entire coaching staff is coming in. So that's great. Like, that's a clear house of stupid Americans that probably shouldn't be around this locker room anymore.
Yes.
What is that timetable like? If that happens, though, when he brings in all of his coaching, like I was trying to look at their schedule, and we don't have any big international games, whether it's friendlies or otherwise, like coming up. So how does an entire new staff change this mentality, in a 180 without being able to coach them in that environment of
Starts with
where a
Zoom
big
calls,
game
bro.
mentality.
Yeah.
What's up?
Probably starts with Zoom calls. They're probably
Yeah.
just hopping on Zoom and saying, "Hey, we got to talk about this."
Going to games too.
Yeah. There's no other way to do it.
I also think it's interesting they took 2 ex-Chelsea coaches for the women's and men's national team.
Sure.
They poached.
Coincidences are crazy.
That's the right word. They poached the
Hanging in
women's
the
coach,
rafters.
right?
Yeah, Emma Hayes. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they shot themselves in the foot with Poach.
You think that's a shot in the foot? Really?
You were the one that said he should have been fired.
Poach?
Yeah. Towards the end of the season. Out.
No.
No, he was Poach in.
Yeah.
He was Pochettino in.
Yeah, I was like, where are we getting that from?
No, I
How
was
is
saying
Poach
Chelsea
in?
shot themselves in the foot by letting him go.
Oh,
Like,
I
you
thought you were saying the U.S. men's national team shot themselves in the foot by going out and get poached.
This
I
is
was
the-
like, I think Poach is a great
This is the
signing.
single
No,
best hire.
that's a win for us.
This is the single best
Okay,
hire
thank
I've ever seen from the United States Men's Federation.
Thank you.
So-
That's what I wanted to hear from you, Hoover. That's what
We've
I wanted
only
to
seen like 3 hires, to be fair, in our
Great.
timeline.
Great.
But
Dude, we
you know,
can cheer for Poach together. Like, we can do that now.
same team.
Same team.
That's gross.
There's journalists saying that he should be announced tonight. I also saw journalists saying that he should be announced last week. So, like, We're playing the Twitter game at this point. And we're
playing the turn Fabrizio's notifications on. Waiting
there
for that one.
we land.
Exactly. So hopefully he comes in and does something. My view is that he's always kind of been a vibes guy. Like when they played when Spurs and even Chelsea were playing their best, the vibe in the locker room was great. Like he was a man manager. He's really good at getting through to players. He's good at bringing in the youth, but like it never felt like he was coming in and running a boot camp, which is what I think.
I heard his training sessions are very hardcore and strict. Like they're not just like they're not lackadaisical at all.
No.
Like they're hardcore. Like he's definitely a people person, but like when it comes to training, he's like, it's this and you're gonna work your ass off. So like I'm hoping that will at least impact some bit of that mentality going in for these guys.
It's hilarious, and I think Michael could back me up too, but like Chelsea saw the same set of tweets when he was hired that Spurs saw in like 2017, and it was like the squad's reporting that the first couple of training sessions have been so gruesome, players are throwing up, like all of this stuff just about how much of the like a hard ass he is about all that. But then
I like watched them too, and they were like, all the players coming off the field and like chugging water. I was like, oh shit.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure how any of that applies to international soccer.
Yeah, I know.
Because
you're not wrong.
It's all we're all talking about like what he does in the preseason, of which there is none.
Yeah.
And then if he runs these players into the grounds, every club is going to send him a dignitary within 6 minutes screaming at him.
You're right.
For hurting their star player. So
yeah.
So
and that goes back to Nick's point. Like, when does the train turn around? Like we're not going to see it till 2026. See if it works or not.
Which is so shitty.
There is no like quick turnaround in international soccer.
Greg another chance. Why? We could have had a new coach 3-4 years ago and actually had a project going in a direction.
I mean, the only thing we have coming up are friendly tomorrow against New Zealand, friendly against Panama October 12th, and then a Mexico friendly October 15th. So who knows what the future is.
I will say, though, he has to be better than Greg.
There's no way he's not. Like,
so, like,
he just
like an improvement.
He just has to be. Like, I would vomit on myself if he came out and the team started playing worse. Because I just refuse to believe. You could give Andy Hoover the keys to this lineup, and I'm doing okay. I'm playing BJ ball, and it's whatever you feel like doing out on that pitch, you do it. Just make sure you support your boys. And BJ ball,
just do it better than the other guy. Yeah,
so far.
I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about our ability or inability to potentially press.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's like a high pressing system has very rarely been implemented successfully in the international stage because you don't have enough time to practice it. The only time it typically is implemented successfully is when you have like 6 or 7 players from the same club team, like Spain in 2012.
Yeah.
Like if they can just like, hey, what you do there, you're all going to do it here.
Yeah.
And we have 25 players from basically like 24 different teams.
Yeah.
So
too bad we can't pull like a Saudi Arabia and just pull all of our players from club action the entire year prior, and then just get them. That would be great. That would be best case. I don't want to see these guys play in the Champions League. No,
that's insane.
I want to win the
I'm
world.
not trying to be a Debbie Downer. It's just like how I watch the sport. I was like,
no, 100%. No,
everyone's freaking out, and I'm just like, it's good, but I don't know how good it is.
It's gonna be interesting. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a nice like, does this work? Because we've never really seen it work. So like, does it work this time? Question mark.
It worked for Jesse Marsh against the United States. So I mean, if anything,
that was all his assistant coach Bradley Carnell.
True, bro. True.
We forgot about that.
We didn't even say that.
I mean, what a fit.
That's ruined the whole episode for me. Like, I want to leave.
Dude.
I can't imagine how wonderful of a locker room that must be with those two guys.
The Prince and...
Feel bad for... Kyle Hebert's never going to go to Canada again. He's like, please let me stay here.
Literally never.
The murder ball legends Jesse Marsh and Bradley Carnell. Absolute dogs.
No idea.
Unreal.
Was the assistant.
Tactical specimens, we might say over here.
Alfonso Davies is like, I feel like we should do this at Bayern Munich. Whatever these two guys are saying. That would lead us to success.
This is
Might win us
incredible.
a title with Harry Kane.
Yeah, I mean, hey, there's a thought.
So wrapping up, we'll close it out here. There's a couple big matches coming up this weekend, but one especially large match for a few of us who follow London-based clubs. The North London Derby is back in action on Sunday, 8 a.m. local time, our local time, and like you said early on the pod, it's not been a great international break for some, better for others. We found out, not even that long ago, a couple hours, that Odegaard was subbed out of his match for Norway over Austria with a pretty vicious ankle twist. The video's out on social media. You can definitely find it. I'm not going to speculate because I've done this song and dance with Arsenal for a very long time, and in my mind, he's going to be 100% fine, no problem to play, and he'll probably bag too. So that's my view of a Spurs point of view. That's kind of how this whole thing's gone for me. But Declan Rice is also out due to his red card suspension, which in itself is a whole different conversation. But thoughts, Winks, general ideas, what I was looking at the squad list. If those two guys are out, are you running a Partey Jorginho midfield?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So that was going to be something I was going to talk on later, but it's going to be I think Jorginho and Partey are the only two that are locks for our midfield against y'all, and then it'll either be Kai dropping in or Trossard playing at that spot. I can't really see anybody else doing it, but on top of that, Gabriel Jesus is injured again. Mikel Merino out with a shoulder injury. Tomiyasu is hurt. Calafiori got hurt during international break as well. So we've got 6 guys out for sure, which is super cool. And actually, before I make this statement, I think the holding midfield area specifically is going to probably, on our end, is going to be the most crucial space in terms of deciding who takes the points from this game. I expect you guys to exploit that gap and high press the shit out of us. So I think if there's a game this season to hammer the over, this is it. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. But when is the last time we had a North London derby where both teams were at full strength?
Yeah, it hasn't been for a long time.
Years.
It hasn't. And I remember making a realist comment last North London derby when you guys had like 3 or 4 guys out, including James Maddison, where it's obviously nice to take points from you guys, and it's nice for you guys to take them from us, but it doesn't feel as good as taking 3 points when both teams are at full strength. So I think it's a win for us if we take 3 points being down this crop of guys, but like it didn't feel as good last North London derby when we beat y'all because you guys were missing them. So
such a backsided comment.
I was about to say
it's so fucking annoying. 3 points. Like, don't get me wrong, I love winning, but
yeah, like it's a lose-lose. It's a lose-lose for y'all. No, but yeah, it sucks.
To a certain degree.
And if you watched, yeah, I get it. And if you watched Odegaard's injury video, I watched it probably 30 times in a row.
Psycho.
Masochist. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. That's insane behavior.
Not exaggeration, but yeah, like Baumgartner takes a huge shitty touch into the midfield. Odegaard closes him off, and then so he tackles him from behind. And I didn't watch that game live. I had Red Zone on all day, and was working today. But watching it back several times obviously didn't look good, and I've been refreshing my Google News and everywhere trying to find a timeline for it, and obviously nothing's come out yet, so we'll see. But I think our lineup is going to be all sorts of wonky because Nketiah is gone. We loaned out Reece Nelson, and
but I mean, to be fair, you do have top 3 player in the entire world, Bukayo Saka, on your team.
We do.
So you know,
on the bench now.
Yeah, like
yeah, I don't know if Sterling will be. I don't know
bro,
if
Sterling
will...
could start up top. Bro,
could.
Kai might drop into the 10.
Brother,
Sterling up top.
could you imagine the scenes if
Sterling
Raheem the
scores.
Dream wins the game for us? Oh
God,
my God.
he'd kiss that badge so hard.
Raheem the Dream. Oh god.
Raheem the Dream, the next Kai Havertz. We'll turn him around for
I
sure.
think we have a pretty nice GIF prepared for Raheem the Dream.
I would-
depending on how that game goes.
I've
In a Chelsea
overused this, but I would vomit all over myself if that happened, bro. I could not handle that. I couldn't handle that.
It's
Yeah.
insane.
Maybe Timo gets in there too.
Timo-
Shit,
Oh my God, it'd be so funny if all the rejects scored. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
like Timo scores 2, then you got Sterling score 1, like Jorginho scores 1.
Michael, I don't
It'd be
mean to
insane.
expose you here, but you are a Spurs fan. You have informed us.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
thoughts, ideas. It's going to look this. Why you were like, yeah, I think we may press the shit out of you. I'm like, yeah, bro, that's what they do. It's one way or the other way, and it's Ange ball. It's straight. He said, what did he say in one of his little clips this week? He was like, if I could play this game with 11 strikers, I would, but I can't.
Yeah, Winks was saying that victory doesn't feel as nice, but if we played a group of U9s and beat them 37-0, I'd take my shirt off and run down the street. I don't care at all. 3 points is 3 points, and no self-respecting person in the city of St. Louis should like Arsenal.
Oh,
That's just the way it is.
Hey,
Stan Kroenke, gone forever.
I've told them. So obviously, I haven't known you as long, but I was a fan before I
What,
knew
2
who
nights
Stan
isn't as long.
who 2 wonderful nights together. No.
Did it mean nothing to you?
Hey.
Hey.
whoa.
Yeah.
Take me
what
to
the-
dinner first.
Am I
Goodness
that
gracious.
forgettable?
Yeah.
No, but I had no idea who Stan Kroenke was
Yeah.
before I started following Arsenal. So it just
It's still time to change.
unfortunate coincidence. I
You can
can't
always
do that.
change. Yeah.
The cannon is on my thigh permanently for the rest of my life, so that's not happening.
I have seen people that have the city logo tattooed, and when they switch logos, also
Brother,
gonna be
I
pretty
tell you
tough.
what, I'm a diehard City fan, and I think I would call myself one of the biggest. I will never get that badge on my leg. There's no shot
well,
in hell.
the one you're wearing, I think, on that sweatshirt is probably what they're going to go to. That,
Oh,
like,
really?
well, you see it like on the stadiums, you see it on the training facility. It was the Instagram logo, like, and it's 2 colors, and there's a lot less going on.
Yeah,
So I mean, it just seems to make sense to me that that's
Mhm.
the. Why would you put that all over everything if that wasn't the end goal?
That's true.
You got the name out, you got St. Louis City out in the first logo, and now you can revamp it. Like New York NYCFC just redid their logo like
Yeah.
yesterday or today or something.
halfway through the season, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird timing
it.
for that, but yeah.
No, I'm with you though. I think Spurs are in a position where any 3 points is just so big. You just have to keep building on what you think you can do and do it better than you have been, because it's not going to change. But yeah, it would feel way better against our friendly neighbors up north. So. Yeah, I still, again, I'm not even confident that Odegaard's going to be out. Again, I think they could get Rice's decision overturned by the FA this week. Odegaard could have a miraculous comeback and is training in 2 days, and they could bag. So, there's a world. There's a world. I set my expectations low. I know my place in this European football world as a Spurs fan. So I'm
I
gonna
also think
celebrate it.
full go. It would be a good game. Hoove.
Oh yeah.
It always is, no matter what.
Full go. I think Spurs are dangerous. this
It's
year.
really
Regardless
the
of-
only derby that like lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
Regardless of who's
There's
hurt,
always a lot of goals. There's always a lot of action. Like the Merseyside derby, typically not. The Manchester derby, typically not. Like, but Spurs, Arsenal, like there's just always goals.
and it's
pretty
always
much.
close, no matter who's
Yeah.
hurt. It's.
It,
I haven't seen a derby in a long time
Well,
where
you guys can kiss each other after this podcast.
Well,
I mean, Jesus
like
Christ.
it's kind of funny. It's like when Spurs are in the mud, we pull you guys straight into it. But then, like, when you guys are playing really well, suddenly we're one of the best teams in the world. It's such a weird, like, no matter where they are on the table, like, it's gonna be disgusting. There's gonna be tackles, and it's gonna be hot.
Christian Romero's getting a red.
Christian
No
Romero
chance.
is not getting a red.
No chance.
He's not getting a red. Or he
His
might.
discipline
and-
record is
Yeah.
overstated. He's only got like 3 reds in his career.
That record is
really.
overstated. He
Like,
straight
no,
red.
genuinely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like he just doesn't really get sent off.
And
Fact check.
tackles though.
Oh, he tackles the heck out of people.
Shit out of
Yeah.
you.
He's only got 1 red for Spurs, I'm pretty sure.
It was Chelsea, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the swing
Enzo
through
Fernandez
Enzo
thing?
Fernandez. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the midst of the hair pull too. Yeah, I forgot that
That
one.
wasn't a red. Maybe a yellow
Yeah.
at best.
Cut your hair, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that's
Oh,
legal
yeah.
in the NFL, right?
Yeah. Steven Jackson would attest to that.
His tackling's legal in football too, right?
It is,
Yeah.
especially when you hit the ball before the defender. Shouldn't have even been a red.
Yeah, and then follow through onto his shin. Yeah.
We have a guy complaining when the ref came out and said like 5 years ago that he let Chelsea kick the crap out of Spurs when they lost the league. Like we have a guy in the group who's just openly talk like we're dismissing. Yeah.
Yep. We yes we do.
Okay.
We yes.
All right.
Who?
Just so we're
Yes.
aware. Just so we're aware. Okay.
Oh Lord.
What if I dismissed that?
Yeah.
All right, lads. We've covered it all topics under the sun, even topics not football related. But that's what we do here at the Mecca of Banter. That's why you listen. That's why you've made it an hour and 6 minutes in with us. So from myself, Hoov, the host here again, who did not introduce himself at the beginning, happy to have you. Glad you joined us. Make sure to follow us on the socials, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitters. We're definitely active, and also. Shout out our good friend Michael Sinnott at Chat City Tactics. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know who he is because you probably follow him and not us. So that's great. We're happy to have you. We're happy to have you on this side of the podcast world. But again, no, seriously, thanks for joining us, dude. You're always such a pleasure to have on, and super knowledgeable. We are Chat Shitty Tactics, and you actually have the data and analysis, and you're a calm soccer fan, you're a calm football fan, so I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
yeah,
Thanks
man,
for being here.
always glad to
Absolutely.
have you. Hoov, checking out. Thanks, lads.
Weird boys.
Cheers, fellas.
boys.